Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So here's an update to a story that we've been following here on the channel. Hulking autistic boy, 17, filmed battering female teacher's aide for threatening to take away his Nintendo Switch, files a lawsuit claiming school staff triggered him. An autistic Florida teen who knocked a school staffer unconscious for threatening to take away his Nintendo Switch has filed a lawsuit against the district, accusing them of failing to meet his needs. Typical of public schools nowadays. And this is going to be another example we're reading about in this article here of why you should, if you can, do everything that you can possibly do to homeschool your children. But Brandon Deppa, who's 18 now, was just 17 when he was caught on video pummeling a teacher's aide, Joan Nadich, at Matanzas High School after she requested another teacher take away his gaming console. Deppa was arrested and charged as an adult with aggravated battery on a school employee, a first-degree felony carrying a potential sentence of 30 years behind bars. The teen filed a request for due process hearing under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act on April 24th. It asked for a determination that Flagler County Public Schools' actions before and after February 2023 led to the violent incident, to which Deppa pleaded no contest. In court documents reviewed by DailyMail.com, the teen's attorney argued that school employees were aware of his disabilities, triggers, and problem behaviors, as well as other incidents where he was disciplined for spitting, shoving an aide, harassing and intimidating the school staff, and shouting at one of his teachers. It should be noted that the school and staff working with him and the district knew that the electronics, specifically the Nintendo, and its use on a school campus was a trigger for escalating behaviors, the filing reads. It describes Deppa, who stands at 6'6" and nearly 270 pounds, as a ticking time bomb whose needs, despite the concerns and warnings, were completely disregarded by the district. You gotta love public school nowadays, right? In my day when I went to school, this might be dating myself, but I don't care, they used to take these type of kids out of the regular classes and put them in their own class with teachers who were specifically trained and paid to endure that task. The filing claims the attack on Nadich, a 59-year-old mother of two, was the result of a failure to address his needs or have staff around him with the proper training. I will say that I believe I read in an article before that, yes, teachers were aware that he would violently lash out and yell and, get mad and angry and things like that, but he had never before actually turned violent, like physically. That's the first time that news has actually been brought to the surface, because up to this point, I think, and I could be wrong because it's been a couple months since I've read this story, since this story has been updated in the news, but I believe none of the teachers actually felt physically threatened by this kid up until this happened. Or at least that's the story that they were telling. But continuing, this incident started with a paraprofessional and a student exchanging words, and the student became reprimanded in front of his peers. The document reads, he was punished by being denied his electronic device, even though other students were allowed theirs. The paraprofessional and the teacher began discussing his ability to bring electronics to school in front of him and in front of his classmates. It claims Deppa attempted to defend himself, but the staffers ignored him and continued to talk about him in front of him and his classmates. As the teen grew increasingly upset, he allegedly spat on Nadich, who got mad and accused him of assaulting her, which, if he did, it is, and stormed out of the classroom, presumably to report him for assault. The document claims the video shows the paraprofessional leaving the classroom and the student following her out. I'm not going to replay the video, but I'm sure everybody's seen it at this point, and I'm just bringing you the latest update. So there's no need to replay it, right? Deppa's attorneys placed the blame on Nadich herself, who suffered 5 broken ribs, a concussion, and hearing loss. So the lawyers are going to blame the victim, right? Well, the world we live in nowadays. The paraprofessional should not have interacted with the student in this manner. Her and the teacher's actions caused a predictable outcome, the filing reads. Well, I don't know how you could predict that the kid would become violent and nearly beat her to death, but that's their claim. The IEP and behavior set out the evidence interventions that should be utilized when a student misbehaves. The paraprofessional did not follow the plans and did not utilize an evidence-based strategy, putting herself in a dangerous situation. Well, she got into an argument with a kid that argues and gets mad all the time, allegedly, and he spit on her. which was a crime, it's gone beyond the realm of their guidelines of interventions and things like that, where she's ready to call the police and say, hey, this kid spat on me and I want to press charges. Because not only does the school have rules, there's also laws in society that you have to follow at the same time. But the document asserts Depa has a history of trauma and mental health issues, noting that he was sent to a residential program for stabilization and spent nearly a full year in a placement that provided 24/7 supervision and care before he entered the Flagler County School District. Another reason to homeschool your children, right? I mean, what if this 270-pound kid decided to do that to one of his classmates who's much smaller than the teacher even? If this kid was such a ticking time bomb, how did they know he was going to go off on a teacher? They were just a risk they were willing to take? That's not a risk I want to take with my child if I was a parent of one of these children at that school. As a large black male student, he is subjected to misperceptions and race. He needed to be taught how his presence, even if there was no physical touch, could and would have been seen as scary and intimidating. He needed to be taught how to problem solve, communicate, and interact with people in positions of authority or with his peers. So he was still in the process of needing to be taught that, even though he was going to school with other kids. Those are things that should be taught at home before you send a student to public school. And I would just say they happened to leave out, they did say large, but the fact that he's a black male student, I don't think is going to hurt him at all in these woke schools nowadays. With all the woke Democrat teachers there are in the world, I really don't think that hurts him. I think that actually gives him a pass in some things. But if it didn't, why would they mention it here in this court hearing, right? Because they literally are trying to act like he's the real victim, not the teacher that he beat unconscious over a Nintendo Switch. The filing outlines several other incidents, including 3 times where Depa spit at people when he was mad or upset or unregulated, and threatened another boy by saying that the student should die and that he should have shot the other student. So this school was trying really hard to actually keep the kid around, I guess. It's amazing what a person has to do nowadays to get kicked out of school. I mean, you think that threatening somebody's life would be enough, but the teen's lawyers request compensatory education and placement in a behavioral therapeutic school paid for by the district, plus reimbursement for any out-of-pocket costs, including tutoring fees and mental health services. Depa's sentencing is currently set for May 1st. The mother of 2 claimed the attack had rendered her a totally different person and turned her life upside down. A school spokesperson confirmed she was back to working for the district, though not at Matanzas High School. In September, Nadich claimed she returned after receiving an ultimatum from Flagler Schools ordering she do so or resign. Well, that's not very nice of the school to do that. But there you have the update. Hopefully, after hearing all this information, you will consider taking your kids out of public school, or if they're not in public school yet, homeschooling them before they even start. Because ultimately, in my opinion, I think that's the way to go. There's just too much that you can't control that goes on there at those public schools. And you don't want your children raised and taught by woke Democrats who think 2 plus 2 can equal 5 and also think that men should compete in women's sports. So hopefully you agree with that. If you do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.